Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Zach Adkins, and in this video, got something a little bit different for you. I have a guest that is going to jump on a Zoom call with me, and his name is Christopher Westfall, and he has done over 60 meet and greets in the last couple of years. I thought it'd be amazing to have him come on and just chat with me about some of the best meet and greets he's done and some of the worst meet and greets he's done, and just give us his experience. And I thought it'd just be something that all of us could learn from, and hopefully you guys enjoy this kind of content. And maybe if it does well, we'll keep putting out more. So without further ado, this is Christopher Westfall. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. I appreciate you having me. Anyone out there? My name is Chris. I'm a veteran, 21 years active duty, and music was a huge part of surviving those 2 decades. And live shows, whether it be any way I could get to music. And not long ago, I love YouTube, and I stumbled upon a video that Zach had done about her meet and greet experience. And I reached out to him and let him know that I've been to probably in the last 2 years over 60 worldwide, and I gave him just kind of some of my experiences, my takes on something I was experiencing at the time, and now that I've had time to reflect on that, kind of how that went. And I just think it's been a great dialogue, and seeing everyone else's videos that he's doing about their experiences, I think that this has been a great opportunity to learn that I'm not alone, in the good and the bad. So yeah, so with that, I just felt he's doing something that I wished it had been done sooner, for people to kind of have some awareness that there's definitely, I have some insight as to, I think, some of the stuff that is the negatives, because I've seen it a lot. So with that, I'm excited to have the conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited because you reached out a little while ago and you told me that you had done like 60 of them. And I was like, holy
Yep. Yep.
crap. And at first, that might be kind of weird to people that you would want to spend your money that way. But then again, you've traveled the world and been in the military for 20 plus years. And I can imagine that when you're away from home and your family and friends, that going and doing a meet and greet somewhere in Germany or in wherever you were stationed, uh, brought a lot of comfort and or like something to look forward to.
Yes. When you consider most of your travel that you did in those 2 decades were to places you wouldn't want to go.
Yeah. Where have you been?
And,
Like, I mean,
and
overall.
well, all over. I mean, literally all over. Um, whether it be for a little bit or for a lot, the military tends to send you to places most travel agents would recommend you don't go.
Yeah.
So um, and going to Europe or going even in the U.S., if you're going to see a band that helps you through a hard time, I mean, whatever your reason for going to Ace, or your reason for going to the ones that I saw that you went to, we all have a reason.
Right.
And my reason was their music saved me. It just did. And the opportunity to tell them that, not only speak for myself, but for people who are no longer with us, and let them know that what they do matters. That somewhere out in the crowd every night is someone who went there and probably had the worst day ever. And it's not their responsibility to cheer us up. At the same time, I think it's important that they know that we all go for different reasons.
Yeah. And I think you touched on something that some people, this is like their only time they're going to be able to see that band, or that like this is the only time they're going to get to go do something like that, and it's extremely important to them.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think a lot of bands forget that, and I don't want to say it's always their fault, because you just get swept up in the day to day. And I saw a lot of comments that said, well, sometimes it's management that does it, or it's their label that does it, or whatever. But I think still there are some artists out there that take a step back from all of that and say, hey, I'm still going to give a good experience regardless. And then I think there's some that just don't, and they really just don't care, you know?
And I have experiences with both.
Yeah. And
Yep. Yep.
so in that instance, like which one was the best one? And there might be a couple, but which one do you think went the best for you?
So I will say that having done so many, a lot of them are, I would liken them to going to a bookstore and having your book signed. Like you just put it on the table and you think you're going to meet the band. You're not. They're signing your stuff, saying hi to you, and that's it. That has become, I think, the most common experience. Metallica, I'm disappointed that James doesn't do the meet and greets. I also don't know why, so I can't give an opinion on that so much. I will say they did it the best. They line you up, they space you out in this hallway, they give your cell phone to their assistant, and their assistant videos and pictures your entire interaction with each guy, and the band members decide how long they want to spend with you. It was amazing. So Kirk found out I was at Area 51 in the 90s when I was in the Air Force. That's all he wanted to talk about. We spent 10 minutes talking about UFOs, you know, and Lars was, what's your favorite song and why? So very engaging, actually. And I had him sign my military retirement. I remember Rob going, "You're old enough to be retired." So we said we had a good laugh. It was the most. And again, I got a lot of pictures of that entire interaction. I got a lot of video from that interaction of each guy. So it didn't feel rushed, and I didn't feel like I was being. There was no rules. It was actually, don't grab at them, but it was honestly to me the most personable one I think I've done in some time.
Yeah. And if you don't mind asking, how much did that cost for you to do? Do you remember?
Actually, I didn't have to pay for that one.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I'm a fifth member and I won the lottery.
Oh, I see.
So I did have to drive from Florida at the time all the way to Michigan to do it.
Yeah.
So 23 hours one way. So the cost of that was the same as buying if I did buy a package.
Sure. Makes sense.
But honestly.
And so you've actually sent me a photo of that, your retirement
from
the military.
Correct.
If you don't have it on you, I can always put a photo up too, but
yeah, you're more than welcome to, because now I've had Avenged Sevenfold sign it too.
Oh, sweet. Well, send me an updated one.
So yeah, and I'm going to have King Diamond sign it in November. These are the bands that I'm telling you that were in my head the entire time I was away.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting, because some people will say that Metallica, it's fine, but there's all these different tier levels that you get. So not all of them are going to be meet the band. There could be just a VIP level where you get like drinks and stuff, or like merch. And then the next level is like you get to kind of be in the pit next to the band while they're playing versus in the audience. And then you get the meet and greet. But I've seen that the meet and greets are only like 2 members are guaranteed to be there, and that's it. And it's usually never James.
Well, James won't do them at all. As a matter of fact, my only criticism about that experience is we were in a hallway and we were told we're not going to meet James. He actually walked out and walked in front of us. Like, he took his time. Like, why would he do that? I don't know if I was there and I didn't, it was weird. It was because everyone in that room wanted to like say, "Hey, James," but we were afraid.
Oh, really?
Of it. And then I was backstage in Colorado during their stadium tour in 2017, and I was told by Chad, his tech, if he stops by, do not have your cell phone out. Do not talk to him. He stood 6 inches from me as if he was daring me to do it for over 30 minutes during Volbeat.
Oh, wow.
So it was an odd experience. And I will say this. Now the meet and greet is a room with chairs. Lars or Kirk or the combo of the two comes in and talks to you. And you kind of ask questions from your chair.
Oh.
And then you do a photo and leave. That's hardly what I did.
Yeah. So that you had a little bit of a better, do you think that was because
I had a great experience, man. And if I had paid $7,000 to sit in a chair, this would be a different discussion.
Is that what it cost to do?
Yeah. No, that's what it would cost. That's the the is it Dream No More package, whatever it's called now, where you have to pay. But if you look at anything on YouTube, it's chairs in a room, and you have to stay in your chair.
Wow.
And then then you walk into this photo at the end and move. And you get, I mean, you get other things, autograph set list. I mean, you get a lot of stuff. I just meant band access. And I think that's what we're talking about is how are the bands treating you?
Yeah. I see you have a lot of Avenged Sevenfold stuff behind you. I think you said you had like a whole room of stuff. Is that your favorite?
I do.
Is that your favorite band or?
Yeah, I met them when I wrote them a letter actually, and I met someone who was like an intermediary, and he gave them this information, and I got a text from their road manager at the time in 2016. I'm in Minnesota, and they were playing down in Madison at a festival. I think it was Aftershock or something, and I was told they wanted to meet me, and I thought it was a joke. I have friends who pulled pranks. Well, I got 20 minutes alone with them and got to tell them a pretty intense story about an injury I had in the military and how they helped me. And I was invited to be side stage that night. And then during Gunslinger, Matt called me out on stage and dedicated the song to me and let me talk to the crowd.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know how to top that.
Yeah. So that must be the best experience then. I mean, although that's not really a meet and greet, I don't think, right? Like it was more like they wanted to meet you because of the letter and stuff.
Correct. But it just shows you, I mean, those bands must get that stuff by the thousands.
Probably.
And so I got lucky enough to have that opportunity. I don't remember much about it. It was a blur. They FaceTimed my son who was deployed at the time. So they did take the time to FaceTime my child, which again, they didn't have to do. They're about to go down. They were dressed for stage. They're about to go. So that's what parlayed into the meet and greets that I've done with them that I did buy a very expensive package. Yes.
Okay, so on that note then, you have become kind of a recurring customer for them because of how they treated you time number 1, 2, 3, 4, on, and you'll
Yep.
probably continue doing packages and they'll probably remember you and talk to you about stuff and whatnot. And I think that shows the importance of these things too. If the band is worried about, now I don't think Avenged Sevenfold is really worried about income because they're one of the bigger metal bands, but the fact that a lot of bands that are on their way up or have been around and kind of are struggling because they're not making money with merch as much or with album sales, if they treat the fans really well and do those little extra steps that, they don't necessarily have to bring you on stage or whatever, but the little FaceTimes with the family or just saying hi and being engaging, now you're going to be like, hey, I'm going to go see these guys whenever I potentially have the chance versus, well, these guys treated me like shit this first time. Now I'm not a fan. I don't want to buy their albums. I don't want to buy their merch. I don't want to buy it. I see you got a Sin guitar behind you. Like,
Yep.
it's so important. And I think the one thing that I if you're comfortable sharing it, like, what about your experiences in the military? Like, I know that there's probably a lot to unpack there, which we don't necessarily have to, but more, what did these bands do for you while you were deployed? Like, why were they so important? And why does it matter to you to tell them that?
Well, what happens is you find yourself in situations that you just can't even believe it's happening, and you see things, you smell things. I'll be sensitive just because other veterans watching this. I don't want to trigger someone. So that it's an extreme life, and it's stressful. You can't talk about it with anybody because it might be classified. There's all sorts of reasons as to why. The only thing you have, for me at least, was music. That was my escape. That was my connection to what I missed. That was so. Sometimes musicians write songs that the lyrics, it's almost like they lived your life and wrote a song about it. So and so for that reason, Avenged Sevenfold's music is wild.
Yeah. And I can imagine, I mean, I've thought that too. I'm not in the military, but my family is. Almost all of them were. And, you know, they've told me some stories and whatnot too. And it's like
Yep, yep.
all they had, you know, my grandpa, all he had was Elvis Presley to listen to. That was like him and my grandma's band. And it's like, that's what he gravitated towards. And it, or movies, you know, or whatever it might be, you know. And I think that for you to get to share that with an artist,
Yep.
not just for, you know, them to hear it and feel good or bad or whatever about it, but for you to just say like, hey, I don't need your, you know, approval or pity or anything, but just so you know that you are important to me on this moment of my life, and to at least be acknowledged, I think is really important too.
Yep, yep.
And, you know, obviously I said it in the email too, but like,
It is. And I told them, I said, it's a responsibility
yeah. And obviously, like I said this in the email, but you know,
that I felt.
I appreciate your service and everything, you know, because my whole family's military, and you know, I know what everybody goes through with that stuff. But and it's great that your kid isn't. He's still in the military. Is he big into music then too?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And has he?
He has a death bat tattoo on his arm, and I toured with Avenged the entire month of March, and the band signed his tattoo, and he had it tattooed in.
Awesome. Yeah, I got the Ace Frehley tattoo on this arm.
Yeah, yeah.
I just think, you know, because I read a lot of comments that like,
So yeah,
I read a lot of comments on this video. This video that I did, it's got like 5,000 comments on it. It's absolutely insane because everybody wants to talk about their favorite or worst or
wow.
how big of a dick I am about bringing out the topic. But the number one thing that I see a lot is people going, you know, I would never pay to meet somebody, or I would never pay to meet my favorite artist or band. They should be thanking me. And I think to a certain extent that's kind of fair. Like you did, in fact, as buying their stuff and being a you know, a patron of theirs, their life is kind of built around their fans, and they sometimes forget. But I think it's important to not necessarily like obsess about people, because I think it can reach a point of like it's weird, but to just want to go and pay to meet somebody,
Yep.
and just to have a moment of their time, I don't think that that's really too much to ask, and I don't think it's too weird. I mean, what is your thoughts on that? I mean, I know you've done like 60 of them, but like, do you feel justified spending your money that way?
I do. It's my choice. Uh, I I have seen the bands themselves uh, really try hard to make it a memorable experience for you. So if you have a message you want to give to a band that's given you messages your whole life and made you feel good about music and the, you know, whatever that did for you, I don't know why I would have an opinion in a negative way as to someone spending their money to thank that person to their face. It's powerful,
I agree.
you know. So and I know I'm not best friends with Avenged Sevenfold, but I know them enough. When they see me, they know exactly who I am. And one of them even asked if my kid's how he's doing in school. I mean, they get to know you. And I will tell you this: it stresses the singer out because he's such a people pleaser that you can see his face sometimes when he meets someone and the security guard rushes that fan through. He doesn't like that. He you can see the visible disappointment. Like, why did you just do that? But he has no control over security. So I have nothing negative to say about about them in particular because I've talked to them privately, and he's like, that sucks because that fan must have waited 20 years to meet me, and that dude grabbed him and was like, time to go.
Yeah. And I wonder if that has a lot to do with either management or the venue. You know, there's just certain places that they're not allowed to be, or they're taking up too much time. And I get, you know, the thing that upsets me about it is when it's considered a VIP, but then there's like 50, 60, or 100 people there. Like, that seems to me like it's really, yeah, it's not really VIP anymore. It's more just how much money can we make out of these people and give them the least amount So they're just happy enough to maybe do it again. I think that's where it gets bad, right? And I don't know.
I agree.
So on that note, I mean, you've been to 60 in the last couple of years, but you've been to way more than that, I assume. And
Yeah, a lot.
which ones have been the absolute, like, I would never do that again. This was horrible. Like, I felt more like a cattle being prodded through the line.
So this is tough. And I know I'll probably get no, I won't get invited to a lot of Christmas parties, but it's falling in reverse. Um, I just did it 2 weeks ago, and it's advertised as a meet and greet. Okay, I stood in a line with about 500 people. I got up to where Ronnie was, and I went to meet him. He turned to his left, fist bumped me, and as soon as he did, the photo was taken. I didn't even know it was being. I had. It was like, oh, turn, and I had to leave immediately. So as I left, I said some things to him. He was super awesome, by the way, super polite. He thanked me for my service. He couldn't have been nicer, but it all happened in 15 seconds. No autographs allowed. No, you were briefed on don't touch him, don't. So again, if it had said photo op only, then what could I say? There was absolutely no meet and greet.
Yeah, it was meet, no greet.
Fist bump, photo, leave. I timed it on my iPhone, 13.9 seconds.
Wow. And how much, and again, if you don't want to say, you don't have to, but how much did that cost to do?
Just shy of 600.
So was 15 seconds worth the $600?
No, not for that reason. What I'll say redeemed them was you were guaranteed a good seat, and I was second row dead center. So I'm guessing that would have been a $300 to $350 ticket on its own. So what I did is I paid $250 to get a photo with Ronnie, and again, I want to make sure that the audience is clear. I'm not slamming Falling in Reverse. Ronnie was the nicest guy. He honestly was. He was super awesome. It was the security apparatus that moved you through so fast that if you didn't think to get your words out as you moved, then, but I mean, there was little kids in front of me, and Ronnie got on his knees to get low to them. He couldn't have been nicer, man.
Yeah.
So I think that was a disconnect between security and the artist.
Okay, because I was going to say that sounds more like a potentially like a management slash venue slash security issue more so than, because I've heard Ronnie is really nice, and
he was.
I've seen him on videos be kind of an asshole, but I think that's his shtick, which is great. I think it's hilarious. And he gets a lot of attention. I mean, I think they're like Grammy nominated now, aren't they, or something? So it's like, or maybe they're going to be, I don't know, but I can kind of see like him trying his best to do one and the other. You got 500 people to meet. There's all this time, but then again, like, is there something could there be a tier-based system where it's like, hey, if you spend $200, you get the 15 seconds. If you spend $600, I'll talk to you for, a minute, and I'll sign one.
There is.
What's that?
Yes, there is.
Oh, okay.
So Ronnie has a Patreon.
Oh, okay.
And if you spend $1,200 for his Patreon, you're side stage and VIP for life. For life.
Wow. Is it $1,200 a month?
That's not bad. No, for a year.
Oh, that's not bad.
So you figure $1,200 a year, you can go to as many Falling in Reverse shows for free on the guest list. So a sticky pass, you hang with the band, and you're side stage for any show, every show, rest of your life.
Well, I was going to say, shit, for $600, you should have just paid the $1,200.
I didn't know.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because Patreon just happened.
Oh, gotcha.
Had I known that, absolutely, man, I'm writing that check. And
right. But I mean, did it feel good that he thanked you for your service and acknowledged you a little bit? Like, did that?
It did, and I did get to watch him as I waited to meet him. Like I said, as little kids came in, he got low, very personable. So that's why I'm trying to make sure people understand. I don't think it was a Falling in Reverse issue. I think it was either a management or security disconnect because he was trying to talk to you, but you were being moved by somebody.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah,
he was not a jerk at all.
Yeah,
he was super awesome.
Yeah, no, I actually think I've seen him in certain instances where I've seen him bring people back that got moved too fast, like especially like younger girls that just wanted to take maybe another photo, and he has signed stuff. I hate to. I know in my video I kind of blame artists more than maybe was justified, because yeah, I think there is more to it than that. But at the same point, if you're the artist, I think that you should have more say, and you should make your say known more and say, hey, look, like if I'm M Shadows from Avenged Sevenfold, I'm not going to play this show if I'm not happy. And everybody knows that. You know what I mean? Like Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, if you pissed him off and he doesn't want to do the show's not happening. That kind of vibe, you know? So if you can take that energy a little bit, not towards your fans and get pissy with them like a lot of people get, you know, because you see that where they're like, they show up and you're an inconvenience to them. It's like, why don't you channel that energy that way towards management, towards the venue, and say, look, if I don't get what I want and my fans aren't happy, then I'm not doing the show anyway. So then you'll have a real problem on your hands, and then things might change. I don't know.
I would agree. And having done as many meet and greets that I've done, especially with Avenged, you can see what they'll do is they'll brief you, security. They'll say, guys, they have a bus call in 40 minutes. We have to get this done. I'm sorry. I know a lot of you wanted to, you know, have a long talk with them. We can't.
Sure.
And so they do tell you. And because there's a group of us who do this together, what we'll do is we'll actually back off. So if I didn't know you and you were the one who was telling me in line how excited you were, I would just go to the back, let you have more time, so I could just zip through and say, good to see you again, see you tomorrow, kind of thing.
Sure.
So we as fans make the effort to make sure that a first time person gets more time, but also Avenged gets to know you. And if I brought you as my guest, Matt would say, how do you know him?
Right.
He actually wants to know. And then he'll actually talk to you about it. It's not like, hurry up. So even though you have a limited time because of a bus call, I don't know anyone who could walk away thinking that they didn't care that you were there.
I like that. I've been a huge Avenged Sevenfold fan for a long time.
They are, honestly, man, I've seen them. You can tell when they're in bad moods. You can tell when they're tired. You see it all in as many as I've done. Like I went to Europe to see them in Amsterdam, and the drummer Brooks said, "Oh, I remember in New Jersey saying it'd be great to see you in Europe, and here you are." And Sinister Gates goes, "Jesus, man, like really?" And I said, "You guys, if meeting you all the time was boring, I'd stop doing it. You're never the same guys. The shows change your mood. The shows change your, you know, they were so like upbeat that night compared to New Jersey. It's not even the same to compare. It was so much fun. And again, if it was boring, man, I'm not going to do it just to do it.
Right.
It's a different interaction. If me and you talked, let's say every third day for a month, don't you think it would always be about something else?
Yeah.
It evolves. So that, I guess, is a tie for my best, you know, with Metallica and that, because when I did it, I didn't have the chair, you know, I was able to have an interaction with them. But the worst was Tesla. They just looked like they didn't want to be there.
Do you think that a band like Tesla, because that's one of those like legacy bands, you know, they've been around so long and they had kind of their moment, and then now they're kind of riding on that moment, which honestly, like that's kind of how Ace is, you know. Ace from Kiss is Ace Frehley, of course, but Kiss is way over here still making millions and selling their catalog for $500 million and, you know, doing their thing. And then you've got Ace, who's playing like a weekend festival somewhere. Now, to me as a fan, that doesn't matter. I just want to meet him because I don't know if you noticed, my entire room is Kiss. Like, and it's like, he's always been my favorite guitar player, not because of his inspiration from, like, I don't play the way he plays, but just his attitude, how cool he looked, his makeup, and like, you know, all the cool stuff. Like, he just had the vibe that made me go, I want to be a guitar player. So a band like Tesla comes around. Do you think that they have this attitude now because they aren't at their peak, or like they're just kind of going through the motions of it? Or what do you think it was like for them?
I think that being in my own band, I toured all over the world, played with Ace, actually, played with Tesla, played with a lot of bands. So I saw stuff from the inside. I think it has to do with the mood that day. Because for me, saying it was the worst, because they honestly looked like they didn't want to be there. They didn't, in the group photo, none of them are smiling.
Yeah.
They look annoyed. And there's going to be someone else in the comments that can say, well, I met Tesla. They were amazing. Screw you.
That's fair.
You know, and I also know from meeting Lamb of God and having a friend who knows Will Adler really well, the reason that someone who might have met them on that night, Will Adler's dog had just died.
Oh, sure.
And you see, so they're humans. And I think that you get that. Now, where I see the consistency is there's certain artists that when people are consistently saying this wasn't a good experience, that is, I don't know how we're even having this discussion that we're wrong.
Sure.
You know,
like Ace.
Yeah. So, and so I think that having, we played with him in Kansas City, and the amount of rules that my band got to not speak to him, don't look at him, don't, like, why? We don't. So I just wish more bands would be as grateful, I guess, as some of the ones that I've had those great experiences with, because it's probably the only time you're going to meet this human. You've waited your whole life, and it would just be nice for them to always have just smile, be cordial. But when I saw that thing, I think it was Tool on your video, where it looked like just a giant photo, you know, like, and then there was one, I think it was with Steve Vai and Satriani, they were on the stage and you were down in the crowd and they were behind you, like waving from way back there.
Yeah.
That's not a meet and greet.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, it did say in there, it just said VIP experience. It didn't say meet and greet necessarily. But the thing that is weird, that everybody, I wouldn't say everybody, I didn't talk to everybody, but most of the people I talked to, because we got to leave after that and go to like the smoking area outside and hang out.
Okay.
I would say 80% of the people that I talked to were like really surprised that they were on the stage, because they were like, yeah, I know it said photo op, but they thought that meant you, Steve, and Joe as a photo op, not you.
Right. And that's what I would think.
Right. That's what all of us, again, not all, but the people I talked to were like, I thought a photo op meant I was going to get a photo with Steve and Joe, or you and the band, you know, whatever, but not us and 10 people I don't know. You right? I mean, and you can actually see in the photo my face. I'm looking over and I'm like, I kind of have this like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, what just happened?
Because I was literally talking to my buddy Chris. Shout out to Chris, hey buddy, and he was like, here, you hold my gift bag, I'll go do my photo. You hold or I'll hold yours, and then you go do a photo. And we're already mapping it out, so both of us already had it in our head. This is what's going to happen, and then just lines up all these people, and it's like, oh, and again, like people think in my video that I don't, that because I said VIPs are a scam and this and that. That's mostly for clickbait, obviously, because I just wanted to make a video that was like, hey, y'all need to pay attention to what the fuck's going on, because I agree that most of them are just not worth the money, you know. And whether, because people are like, well, it's not a scam because they would have to promise one thing and get another. But the trick is that when you say things like photo op and you get a photo op, but you have other 10 people, just because it wasn't what you expected doesn't mean they didn't technically give you what they said they would, right? So there's this balance of like, is it clever marketing and production for them to say certain things, or is it literally just, we're not going to give you what you want? So I think there's a balance there too.
I'll take it a step further in saying that I'm not going to say it's a scam. I'm going to say it's bait and switch. Because if you said in your ad, we're going to stand 60 feet behind you and get nowhere near you, would you? Because you asked me, would I still have paid the money to do the following in reverse?
Yeah.
And I said, in retrospect, yes, because I had the best seat in the house. It was amazing. But if it said in there, let's say it was, again, Satriani. If it says meet and greet, photo op, is that not fair to assume we're going to stand a lot closer than 70 feet?
Right.
So if it said Joe will be on the stage, you will be nowhere near him, then we have the awareness to, are we going to spend this money, or are we going to take a picture from the pit and be much closer actually than we were in the photo? So I think that if they were at least honest about what it really is, then what could you possibly make a video about if you got exactly what was promised? But it sounds to me like, again, I've done 60 guys in 2 years. It's not unreasonable to expect your photo op to be us pretty close.
Yeah, something.
I mean, Avenged Sevenfold never walked to Texas and had us take a picture from the Oklahoma border. I mean, it makes no sense to me. And when I saw your video, it touched the nerve because I saw so much of this, and I've seen great bands make a lot of effort to make sure you felt appreciated. And then what I also saw was where I did other experiences and the band looked like, why are you here? And let's hurry the hell let's get this done. And that was unfortunate. You're right. And so again, if it says something to the effect of stay away from them, kind of put the rules in there, I guess.
Yeah.
And buyer beware.
Right. There should be a receipt of some sort, right? Some kind of some kind of action sheet of like, if it said in the following and reverse thing, you will get no more than 15 seconds with Ronnie. Okay, correct. Well then I knew ahead of time versus why is he spending? Why is he spent? And this didn't happen, but as a what if I guess, like they spend. Well, actually, I'll use a perfect example with the Steve Vai and Satriani thing. It was a Q&A, so there was that portion where you get to sit for 45 minutes and do a Q&A with Steve and Joe, and they were on stage, and that's fine. But half of us didn't get to ask a question because one question gets spent 8 minutes on, another question gets spent 10 seconds on, and then it's on to the next. And it's like, are we guaranteed a question, or can we be like, ask a question, but they might only give you a 30-second response because we want to get to everybody. And somebody got to ask a question twice, but that's neither here nor there. That's just me being nitpicky.
Well, no, but I think that's fair because again, if I did it, so you're in a band. I mean, I see your guitar videos, like you got a new guitar, things like that. So if you put a VIP thing for one of your shows, right, and said meet Zach Atkins, right?
Yeah.
You walking in the room and waving to me is not meeting you.
I would agree.
And if I said, come to an event show, I'd like to have you as my guest, and I had a friend deliver you your envelope and never spoke to you, you're not my guest.
It's weird.
You're some guy I gave an envelope to. So we can make this unpersonal or make it personal. And I think where your video touches the nerve is with people who I believe are in the right to think the artist would spend that time making sure they felt welcomed to this event and not like a thing that needed to be dealt with and then bye.
Fair.
That's just my opinion.
No, I agree. I think I'm really glad that you reached out because You know, you're not actually the only person that reached out either. I've gotten a lot of emails from people that it must have not only just the video doing pretty good and getting all these comments and stuff, but people reaching out through email and just saying like, hey, you know, this spoke to me in a certain way. And then of course it gets you and I to connect. And I like chatting with you about your meet and greets too, other stuff that we haven't even gotten to. But I think this kind of wraps everything up quite well with what you had to say. So,
Well, seeing the video you made about the woman who got, what you say, a bag of chips and a diet Pepsi
yeah, and a bologna sandwich instead of a
and a bologna sandwich.
but it was dinner.
I'm sorry, man. That that blows my mind.
Yeah, but it said dinner, and I guess you got food, so you should be happy. You know.
Well, if we're not that far apart, if you ever want to come up for dinner, I'll have some Fritos.
Yeah, right. I like Fritos, so I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, and thank you for your service, obviously. And I'm glad that you got to do all these meet and greets, and it gave you a special, like, individualized personal experience with people that meant a lot to you. And I just appreciate you reaching out regardless. So.
Absolutely, man. I can't wait to tell you how the King Diamond one goes.
Oh, I'll be excited. So, all right. Well, I guess that's it. I appreciate you, and we'll hopefully have you on another one.
Awesome. Look forward to it, Zach.
Perfect.